Israel anti-boycott bill just passed the House of Representatives recently and seemingly under the cover of darkness after Charlie Kirk was brutally murdered at a Utah college campus event. We're going to be talking about what the bill is, why in fact it was implemented, and the effect it'll have on our country. I'm Ted with Forward the Line. Thank you guys so much for being here. Please, please, please like, follow, share, and all that good stuff. And let's jump into it. From The Intercept, the House just passed a bill punishing, quote, politically motivated boycotts of Israel. Far-right Representative Lauren Boebert added an amendment to the Pentagon budget that targets the BDS movement against Israel. Lauren's got them heavies, bruh. The bill would effectively ban contractors boycotting Israel from tapping most federal contract dollars, since more than half of the $755 billion the U.S. government spent on contracts last year flowed through the Defense Department. The ban, the latest legislative attempt to target the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement against Israel's human rights violation, or BDS, would still have to pass the Senate. The upper chamber was debating its own version of the budget bill on Thursday, and that does not include the anti-BDS provision. All right, so first of all, Donald Trump, President Trump, you need to audit the Pentagon. You should audit the Fed too, but you audit the Pentagon. One of the reasons a lot of us voted for you is not only for the dismantling of the government, not only for DOGE, not only for budget reductions, but also for getting on the Pentagon, because they have lost billions of dollars over the last God knows how long on either incompetence or mismanagement, or maybe it's clandestine stuff and you can't give us the details, but we at least want to know where the hell our money's going. That would be great. And you would probably bring back a lot of disaffected libertarian voters to vote Republican in 2028, thus getting J.D. Vance elected. So, food for thought. So, start out with the bill and its age. The bill is not new. So, this particular bill is just an addendum of language, adding the international governmental organizations as verbiage in the bill from 2018. The 2018 bill, which has the meat and potatoes of majority of what was trying to be accomplished, was even preceded by a 1970 bill that was anti-boycott. So all of these bills, from the 70s to the 18 to now, have all been precipitated by events including Israel. Now, they admit to a lot of it, but just so you know, in the 70s, it was an issue with the Arab League had an economic boycott of Israel. In 2018, the law's targets included supposedly the BDS movement, but had more to do with the 2016 UN Human Rights Council resolution that urged companies to pressure Israel by divesting from it or breaking contracts. So that's pretty big. Then, of course, like we just read, the BDS involved with changing the language to basically include them along with rival governments. So I understand the perspective that we're doing Israel's bidding, because it basically has to do with just them, even though the language of the bill, which I will read in a little bit, isn't directly attributed to Israel, and that's what people try and make you think. Now, let me show you something from Charlie, because this is for a couple reasons. So Charlie wrote this back in May. Tomorrow, the House of Reps will vote on H.R. 867, a bill that will criminalize private boycotts of Israel, fines up to $1 million, and prison time up to 20 years. Bills like this only create more anti-Semitism and play into growing narratives that Israel is running the U.S. government. In America, you are allowed to hold differing views. You're allowed to disagree and protest. We've allowed too many people who hate America move here from abroad, but the right to speak freely is the birthright of all Americans. And he is absolutely right. He makes a lot of points there, but the one I'm going to focus on for right now is the fact that it stimulates anti-Semitism. And it does, after what I just said with making it look like we're doing the bidding of Israel. On top of that, they did this under the darkness, right, of Charlie Kirk's death. They use that as an attention grabber to then ram this through. Now, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it definitely makes it look sketchy. You put that on top of why these bills are even in effect, and you've got a understandable push for anti-Semitism to grow, right? Because, you know, people might be on the fence about it and they're like, oh, that's weird, but then they do this shit, and then you get somebody that comes up like a Nick Fuentes or, you know, whomever, throw this stuff out there saying, yeah, it's the Jews' fault. It's the Jews' fault. I don't believe it is the Jews' fault, but I mean, shoot, the whole thing about Charlie being killed by Israel is not logically sound, right? Occam's razor suggests that the crazy leftist kid that killed him because he's a crazy leftist, because he was radicalized by an insane amount of propaganda spewed from not only the mainstream media for decades, but through social media, through the LGBTQ movement. And this kid was gay, and he had a transitioning boyfriend or whatever. So there are plenty reasons to make the clear assumption that he did this simply because he's a crazy leftist. Israel wouldn't have a real reason to kill Charlie. Max Blumenthal had an interview with Tim Dillon. I listened to that and what he had written in his article. And they were really going after and putting pressure, Israeli, individuals or people that supported Israel, or, AIPAC maybe, I don't know. But they were putting a lot of pressure on Charlie to change his views and to stop talking about this. That doesn't signify that they would kill him. But when you have all these other scenarios going on where it seems like we do Israel's bidding, it is fully understandable why people start to make these assumptions. So, I understand it. I don't think it's real. Now, let me jump into what exactly the bill says, because this is what gets into the free speech argument. So, this is a summary of the bill from the addendum that gives points from the 2018 bill. So, the current law prohibits various actions by United States persons, individuals, and entities in relation to boycotts imposed by foreign governments on a country which is friendly to the United States and is not itself an object of a U.S. boycott. The bill applies those prohibitions to similar boycotts imposed by IGOs. Prohibited actions include 1. Refusing to do business with companies organized under the laws of the boycotted country, i.e. Israel in this case, if the refusal is pursuant to an agreement with or request from the country or IGO imposing the boycott. And 2 is, what does that say? Refuse to employ a U.S. person on the basis of race, religion, or national origin, which is basically the Civil Rights Act, and furnishing information about whether someone is associated with charitable or fraternal organizations that support the boycotted country, which that I understand too. You're basically doxing in a certain type of way, right? I get it. It's an enemy nation, whatever. The question is whether or not this language impedes your ability to express your freedom of speech, and by extension, your ability to boycott. If this law said you as an individual have business dealings with an Israeli company, or Israel said, I don't like what Israel's doing, I am ending my business dealings with you. And granted that you didn't have specific contractual agreements, you then tell your buddies, I'm cutting all ties with them. I'm done with them. And they're like, yeah, I'm sick of it too. I should do the same. And you're like, yeah, do that. That is all legal. That's all legal, right? Or it should be. If this impacts that, that's incredibly unconstitutional. But what I'm getting from this is that if a country that has a boycott active against any allied United States nation and comes to you and says, you should end your business dealings with them, or make it harder for them, or raise your prices for them, or whatever your industry is, and we'll make it worth your while, says the country. And you go, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, I'll do it. And you make either a verbal agreement or a contract, any type of agreement, which is basically at that point a conspiracy. You are then in violation of this law. And that is a boundary that really needs to be clarified by the Supreme Court, because it's tough. I personally think that we shouldn't have this at all, because this is way too borderline. It is too similar to the rights violations of the Patriot Act, to the Biden administration vax mandate, and it's the same borderline policy now. We need to avoid doing that for our own sake, so that somebody doesn't use it against us in the future. Some bad president, the opposition party, whatever it may be. So this needs to be clarified. But anyways, I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Giving you the information so you can make your own opinion. And thank you for watching. Please like, follow, share, all that good stuff. And as always, be happy, be healthy, get educated, stay motivated, forward the line.